Okay, great. We're all ready to go. Well, good morning and welcome everyone to the 10th annual weSTEM conference. I have to say, it is so amazing to see everyone in 3D. That is, of course, except for those of us joining virtually, and then it is great to see you in the more familiar 2 dimensions. But really, it is really wonderful to see everyone who has made it in person and to have the technology available for those who are unable to attend in person today so they can still be present. For those of you who weren't able to attend the last night's reception, my name is Kathleen Ullman. I'm a 5th year PhD student here at the University of Illinois in the Department of Physics. I have the distinct honor and privilege of being the director of the 2022 weSTEM conference. weSTEM is hosted by GradSWE, the graduate committee of the Society of Women Engineers. GradSWE started over a decade ago here at the University of Illinois with the mission to promote diversity in science and engineering. The need for a graduate organization supporting diversity and career development remains as prevalent today as it was 10 years ago. From its beginning in 2011, GradSWE has grown to the largest graduate engineering organization at the University of Illinois. At our conference today, we have over 100 attendees spanning 18 STEM departments. GradSWE's flagship event is this weSTEM conference. The first weSTEM conference was held in April 2013 and was organized by some truly inspirational and forward-thinking women. They created the weSTEM motto: be inspired, stay motivated, grow passionate. This motto sets the tone of the conference and has been my personal experience attending every conference for the past 5 years. And that is why it is such a privilege to be the director for the 10th annual conference. I'd like to welcome all of our speakers who have braved the uncertainty of the pandemic and traveled near and far to generously donate their time to attend this conference. I would also like to welcome the students joining us in person from 6 other universities across the country. Because of our industry, government, and departmental partnerships, we were able to increase the accessibility of our conference by awarding travel scholarships to graduate students in STEM fields at other universities. This year, we are happy to award 6 students with travel and housing assistance. I would also like to thank our corporate, government, and departmental sponsors whose generous support made this event possible. You will find a list of our partners in the program and on the table numbers in front of you on the tables. We also have representatives joining us today, so please be sure to talk with them and check out their company booths throughout the day. As director, I am the one standing up here in front of you bragging about this amazing event. But in reality, though, I really did little because of my amazing team. This event would not have been possible without the incredibly talented, committed, and hardworking people on the weSTEM committee. I want to especially thank the weSTEM committee for the extra hard work they put into this year's conference. We were uncertain if we would be able to hold the event in person, so the committee was simultaneously planning for both an in-person and virtual event should we have had to go that way. Of course, this event would also not be possible without the rest of the GradSWE committee and our volunteers. This year, we have the most volunteers ever in weSTEM history. I am so grateful for all their hard work and their creative ideas. Throughout the day, committee members will have purple ribbons on their name tags, and volunteers will have orange ribbons so you can easily identify us. The biggest thank you I would like to make everyone here today, is to everyone here today, both in person and online. We have been able to have a decade of weSTEM because of your continued support, and we are able to be here because of the additional efforts everyone made in this room to have a safe conference. Today has really been a decade in the making. Thank you all. Yes. Finally, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Please remember to keep your masks on at all times, except for when eating and drinking. And remember to have your COVID stickers on your name tags. Please remember that blue stickers mean that you are COVID comfortable and yellow stickers mean you are COVID cautious. We have created an online program which can be accessed by the QR codes you can see in front of you and throughout the day. This information can also be accessed on our website and the schedule can be found on the digital signs in front of the rooms and on the posters that you saw when you walked in. To your left, you can see our partner booths as well as our vintage weSTEM swag giveaway. Just to note, the swag is free. Throughout the day, please check out both our partners and the swag. And last but not least, please share how you are inspired or empowered today by filling out a sticky note and adding it to our inspiration board seen over here. And as always, please feel free to share today on social media by tagging GradSWE Illinois and using our hashtag weSTEM2022. To start off our event, we have a welcome address video recorded by two of our founding GradSWE members, Dr. Sofie Leon and Dr. Samantha Knoll. Unfortunately, Sofie and Samantha were unable to attend today since they both recently welcomed new babies into their family. Both Sofie and Samantha have impressive careers since graduating from UIUC. Dr. Sofie Leon is the Director of Diversity Initiatives and Resource Centers at California State University Fullerton, CSUF. In her role, she oversees diversity education programming for CSUF students in 5 student resource centers: African American Resource Center, Asian Pacific American Resource Center, Latinx Community Resource Center, LGBT Queer Resource Center, and Titan Dreamers Resource Center. Sofie holds a PhD in civil engineering with emphasis in computational science from UIUC and a BS in civil engineering and minor in computer science from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Dr. Samantha Knoll is the customer experience lead for new business models at Bayer and works within the crop science division. Previously, she served as global product lead for intelligence and analytics at Climate LLC, a digital agriculture company and subsidiary of Bayer Crop Science. Prior to Climate, Samantha co-founded a company aimed at optimizing farm operations through drone imagery. She earned her PhD, MS, and BS in mechanical science and engineering from UIUC and is a class 15 graduate of the HEF Technology and Management program. Sofie and Samantha provided us with the welcome address, and I will turn it over to them. As always, we test the technology, but it never works on the spot.
Good morning, I'm Sofie Leon. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
And I'm Samantha Knoll.
We are the co-founding members of GradSWE at Illinois and are so excited to welcome you to the 10th annual weSTEM conference. 10 years ago, Sam and I and a committee of grad students created the first ever weSTEM, and it's just incredible to see it still going today.
Like Sofie, I am beyond thrilled to be here with you all and to celebrate this special anniversary occasion. We wish we could have joined you in person, but in lieu of that, we're honored to have this opportunity to remotely kick off the conference.
I think I can speak for both of us when I say that this day is something we never really imagined.
Absolutely, Sofie. It was certainly a goal of ours that the GradSWE and weSTEM communities would grow. And given where we are today, it feels like a lifetime ago that we sat in Granger Library conference rooms, dreaming up an organization that would stand the test of time.
Yeah, proud is really a massive understatement. Well, since then, a lot has changed. In 2014, I finished my PhD in civil engineering with a computational science option with the emotional help and support of my GradSWE community. My work was a nonlinear computational fracture simulation. I struggled a bit to figure out what my path would look like after my PhD. I knew that the R1 faculty path was not for me, but I still valued the higher education experience so much. I discovered the service side of academia as it was introduced to me while I was in the middle of my PhD, and I realized this was very intriguing. I did informational interviews with folks. I talked to people who had STEM PhDs and worked in student serving offices on campuses, like at Illinois in the grad office and the dean's offices. And I started looking for next steps in academic staff spaces. At the end of my PhD, I moved to France with my partner, who was doing a traditional academic postdoc after he finished his PhD at Illinois. And I worked as a scientific and pedagogic coordinator of the interdisciplinary PhD program at the Center for Interdisciplinary Research in Paris. I look back at this experience like a postdoc for student and academic affairs work. My partner and I lived in France for a few years, then moved back to the US to Southern California, where we live now. I took the role of trailing spouse while my partner led the tenure track faculty search. Once he found his job at Cal State Fullerton, I started my search and landed at Caltech as the first director of student programs in their division of physics, math, and astronomy. Through all of this, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice work had always been central to my approach, both as a professional and back as a student leader in GradSWE. So for my next professional step after Caltech, I knew that I wanted DEI to be central, and I hoped to get into the Cal State system, which is actually where I was educated as an undergrad. So in 2019, I became the director of diversity initiatives and resource centers at Cal State Fullerton, where I am right now. In this role, I oversee a team of professional and student staff in our 5 identity-based resource centers: African American, Asian Pacific American, Latinx community, LGBT queer, and our Dreamers Resource Center. And I serve as a member of the Cal State Fullerton administration. I love my work because at the heart, I get to use my experience of navigating my academic path as a woman of color in a predominantly white male field on a daily basis with students who are doing the same. So how's that for a quick rundown? Sam, what's the past decade look like for you?
Wow, Sofie, I'd say it's been a whirlwind for me as well. I graduated in 2016 with a PhD in theoretical and applied mechanics. My research was in cellular biomechanics and focused on characterizing the effect of fluorescent light on mechanical cell behavior. As an undergrad, I was never that person who was dead set on becoming a professor. And if you had told me at that time that I'd eventually earn a PhD, I probably wouldn't have believed you. That's all to admit that some of my favorite parts of grad school were the activities I had the opportunity to be a part of outside of research. My involvement in helping to start GradSWE and weSTEM were, of course, the biggest parts of that. But in addition, I was active in the entrepreneurial community as well. A couple fellow grad students and I started a small remote sensing company aimed at optimizing farm operations. We used aerial imagery to identify anomalies that could inform improved efficiency, like when and where to deploy farm equipment. We ended up being incorporated for a little over 2 years and had space in Enterprise Works in Research Park. During one of the business plan funding competitions we participated in, we made a connection with a large agricultural company called Bayer Crop Science, who ultimately hired me and my co-founder to start the unmanned aerial, or UAV, drone imaging program within their global R&D division. This was not an exit strategy that we anticipated, but it turned out to be a great opportunity. I've been at Bayer since 2016 and held various roles within it and its digital subsidiary, Climate LLC. During my time with Bayer, I've worked in a variety of roles, some in R&D, designing an end-to-end drone platform and analytics program to collect insights on crop growth. Then, as part of Climate LLC, I worked as a product manager, designing the digital experience for its flagship software offering, Climate Field View. I currently lead customer experience for Bayer's new business models team, which uses data science models to predict agricultural outputs and prescribes unique seeds, traits, genetics, and crop protection treatments to maximize yield and profit for its customers. I'm incredibly fortunate to have had the opportunity to develop as both an entrepreneur as well as pursue my grad degree in STEM here at Illinois. Though I still consider the amazing GradSWE community the key to having the confidence and inspiration to pursue my interests, especially since they were outside what some might consider traditional paths.
Thanks, Sam. Both of our paths, both Sam and my paths, are just 2 examples of the less traditional professional journeys for PhD graduates in STEM fields, which is actually a great segue into why we started GradSWE and weSTEM in the first place. One of the biggest motivators for starting an organization like GradSWE was to network with diverse professionals and gain exposure to alternative career paths for PhDs, beyond those most historically common, like being a research professor.
GradSWE was also all about community. When we finally got the group of 10 or so women together, we realized that we all shared so much of the same experience as grad students. This group helped me recognize I was not alone, and I did in fact have a community. It just wasn't formally formed yet. I ultimately found GradSWE to be a welcomed escape from the routine daily grind of research. Probably like many of you, I had been used to being one of a few in the engineering program as an undergraduate. But in grad school, I suddenly became the only woman. I recall being the only woman in most of my classes, and I was the only woman in my research lab. If I raised my hand to ask a question, if I didn't show up, or if I did and wore a bright color, everyone seemed to notice. I felt like an outsider and at many times like an imposter who didn't belong. When I met Sofie through a lab mate, she became my real first female grad school friend. We shared our challenges tackling research and the seemingly endless quest for making progress, along with uncertainty about what's next for those of us who felt that becoming a professor wasn't necessarily top of mind. It was the first time I felt like I could really relate to someone else and that I wasn't alone. As a result, I instantly felt more confident in my path, even with so many remaining unknowns. Together, I think we realized we inspired each other and shared a passion for inspiring an even broader community of students. My motivation was to build a community that offered that same escape Sofie and I first experienced with each other to as many students as we could find. It would be a place where you could take a break from research, make friends, develop as a professional, and consistently remind yourself that there is a bigger world out there than whatever went wrong in the lab today.
Yes, so much. It brings back so many memories, Sam. When we started GradSWE, we quickly realized that we'd need a way to support it financially and a way to put us on the map with the university. So while brainstorming with our earliest committee members, Neera Jane, who is actually one of the speakers today, suggested an annual flagship event as a way to generate visibility and revenue to support the organization throughout the year and to create a pipeline to bring people in throughout the year. She had shared that she had similar success with a former group that she had been part of with a flagship conference type approach. So at the time, a flagship conference seemed pretty ambitious, but we put our heads together and thought through how we could make it happen. We spent many hours in the SWE office and engineering hall, in the library, brainstorming what a meaningful event could look like. And although our initial goal was to generate revenue to support GradSWE, our conversations quickly turned to a new goal. How could we design a program that would inspire other students in pursuit of STEM degrees and careers? We envisioned a one-day intimate program featuring inspiring speakers whose paths would be relatable and inspiring. We banded together and leaned on our own respective networks to identify and reach out to speakers and sponsors. And less than 6 months later, we held our first weSTEM conference in the Siebel Center with a variety of renowned speakers and guests and over 60 student attendees. I remember that day like it was yesterday. After getting past the nervousness of the start of the conference, I remember settling in and really getting to enjoy the speakers for myself. I felt inspired and I could see from looking around me that I wasn't alone in that feeling. We had accomplished what we set out to do. It's hard to believe it's already been 10 years since that day, but knowing the impact that it had on me and my path, I'm not surprised at all that weSTEM is still going strong.
Gosh, I couldn't agree more, Sofie. And as we think about the future, I want to reflect on something we haven't really touched on yet today, the weSTEM theme. Be inspired, grow passionate, stay motivated.
Yes, one of our original weSTEM committee members came up with this during one of those hours-long brainstorming sessions. And those words so perfectly encapsulated where we all were in pursuit of our degrees and what we were hoping to get from weSTEM. Even now, 10 years later, I'd say those words are still applicable for me. The theme is a reminder that I have agency when it comes to inspiration, passion, and motivation. I do believe that those are some important ingredients for success, academically and professionally, but it does not mean that you must intrinsically have them, especially through those inevitable ups and downs of an academic and professional journey. We can seek out inspiration and motivation to reignite our passion if needed in those lower times, and we can demonstrate our passion and use it to motivate and inspire others.
Absolutely. And the theme still resonates for me too, Sofie. Since being a part of weSTEM and GradSWE communities, I've tried to really hold myself accountable for seeking inspiration and motivation in mentors when moments of self-doubt creep in. Grad school taught me that it's okay to be uncomfortable. And in fact, being uncomfortable can lead to some pretty great outcomes. But it's also really important to feel engaged in what you're doing so that you can be successful and feel fulfilled. I've been with Bayer for 6 years and held almost as many different roles. In a global company of over 120,000 people, establishing community is as important as ever. And I find that some of the most interesting assignments I've had have come from my network.
Yes, and even though we wish we could be there with you in person today and continue this networking with GradSWE and everybody there at the conference here a decade later. We are still so honored to have been able to continue our involvement as your opening speakers today. And we hope to be able to join you on campus for a future meeting.
And hey, maybe we'll even have a few extra attendees with us next time. Sofie and I are both new moms to daughters born only 3 weeks apart from each other last summer. Who knows, maybe Scarlett and Mara will be leading the weSTEM 2045 committee.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Or maybe they'll come up with something we haven't even imagined yet. Here's to raising little trailblazers, right?
Yes, yes. Thank you again so much for having us. Enjoy the day and the exciting agenda that you all have in front of you from an outstanding committee and group of speakers.
Remember this day, it's for you. Make the most of it.